I never thought I'd be the kind of man who kicks his own mother out of his house. But tonight, I did it. I stood right there in my living room, the one Emily and I saved for 3 years to buy, and I told my mom to leave. My voice didn't even sound like mine. It was too loud, too sharp. Mom, this is my house now. You can't keep acting like it's yours. Just go. She didn't cry. She didn't yell back. She just looked at me, her eyes wide for a second. Then she nodded, quietly, like she'd been expecting it. She turned and walked down the hall to the guest room. I could hear the soft shuffle of her slippers. Emily was beside me, her hand on my arm, but I couldn't look at her. All I could feel was this hot, sick feeling in my stomach. My own mother. I made her leave. It started a month ago. Mom had hip surgery. The doctor says she needed help for a few weeks. Of course I said yes. She's my mom. Dad's been gone 5 years now. It's just her. She moved into our spare room here in Austin. At first, it was nice. She'd make her famous chili. The house smelled like home again. But then, little things started to get under my skin. She'd rearrange the kitchen cabinets. I just thought it made more sense, Ryan, she'd say. Emily would open a drawer looking for a spatula and find measuring cups instead. My wife started getting quiet. She'd give me this look, a tired look. She doesn't respect our boundaries, Ryan, she whispered to me one night in bed. I told her it was just Mom's way. She likes to feel helpful. But it kept happening. Mom would fold my t-shirts differently, not the way Emily folds them. She'd leave little notes on the counter. Don't forget your lunch, sweetie. I'm 29 years old. I felt like a kid again in my own house. Emily and I started arguing more. Not big fights, just quiet, tense moments. She'd sigh when Mom offered unsolicited advice about the garden. The tomatoes need more sun, dear. I was stuck in the middle. I love my wife. I love my mom. But I felt like I was failing them both. Tonight was the last straw. We were all in the living room. Emily was telling me about her stressful day at work. Mom was listening. Then she cut in. You know, Emily, if you smiled more at your boss, he might be nicer to you. It was so old-fashioned, so out of touch. Emily's face just fell. She looked so defeated, and I lost it. All the frustration, the tension, the feeling that my new life was being taken over, it boiled over. I stood up. I yelled. The words just came out. I told her to go. I saw the hurt in her eyes, a deep, quiet hurt, and she didn't fight it. She just accepted it. She packed her suitcase. I heard the zipper from the hallway. Emily tried to talk to me, but I couldn't. I just stared at the floor. Mom came out with her bag. She didn't look at me. She just said, I called a cab. It's here. And she walked out the front door. Just like that. The house was suddenly so quiet. Too quiet. Emily went upstairs. I could tell she was upset. I sat on the couch for a long time. The silence was heavy. I felt like a monster. Hours later, I went to the guest room. I don't even know why. Maybe to see if she'd left anything behind. The room was neat. The bed was made. But the drawer on the nightstand was open. Just a crack. I almost closed it, but something made me stop. I pulled it open. Inside, there was a small white envelope. My name was on the front. Ryan, only if you ever look for me. Her handwriting, so careful. My hands were shaking when I opened it. Inside, it was full of old stuff. A photograph of me when I was 6. I'm on a swing, smiling so big, and she's pushing me. Another one from my high school graduation. She's hugging me. Her eyes are so proud. There were drawings I made in elementary school. A lopsided house with a smiling sun. She'd saved them all these years. And at the bottom, a single note, written on a piece of lined paper. Her handwriting was a little shaky. It said, I just wanted to feel useful again. I read those words over and over. I just wanted to feel useful again.
And it hit me.
It wasn't about the kitchen. It wasn't about the laundry. It was about her. After Dad died, her whole world got smaller. She lost her husband. She retired. Then I moved out. Coming here, she was just trying to find a place, to feel like she still mattered, to feel like a mom. And I took that away from her. I told her she wasn't needed. The letter fell from my hand. I sat on the edge of the bed. The room felt so small. The walls were closing in. Then I heard it, a soft tapping at the window. I looked over. Rain. It was starting to rain. A slow, cold drizzle. And I remembered. She walked out of here with just her suitcase. She didn't have a coat. I left my own mother out in the rain. What have I done? I sit here now, in her empty room, holding a crayon drawing of a rocket ship I made in second grade. She kept it. She kept everything. And I threw her out. I keep wondering if she's okay. Where does she even go? I have this heavy, cold feeling in my chest. I can't shake it. You know, I keep imagining other people hearing this story, people far away. It makes me feel a little less alone in this mess. I wonder, where are you listening from? Just comment your city below. Let me know I'm not the only one sitting in the dark, thinking about the mistakes they've made. I sat on the edge of the bed for what felt like hours. The mattress still held the faint scent of her perfume, that soft, floral smell she's worn since I was a kid. It made my throat tight. The rain kept tapping against the window pane. Each drop sounded like an accusation. I picked up the photograph of us at my graduation again. My cap was crooked. She was standing on her toes to hug me, her smile so wide it crinkled the corners of her eyes. I remembered that day. The humidity made her hair frizz, but she didn't care. She kept saying, "My boy, my brilliant boy." Now I'd made her leave without even a jacket. I looked around the room. She'd made the bed so perfectly. The pillows were fluffed. The little alarm clock on the nightstand was unplugged, its cord neatly coiled beside it. She'd even dusted the lampshade before she left, like she wanted to leave everything better than she found it, like she was still trying to be useful. My eyes went back to the note in my lap. The paper was thin, the kind she uses for her grocery lists. I just wanted to feel useful again. 7 words. They kept echoing in my head. I thought about all the times she tried to help, making my favorite meatloaf even though Emily's a vegetarian, organizing my tool shed by size and color. I'd been so annoyed, so focused on my new life with Emily, my new house, my new boundaries. I never stopped to think about what she lost. After Dad died, she sold their house, the one they lived in for 30 years. She moved into a small apartment. She told me once it felt too quiet. She'd started volunteering at the library, but then her hip got bad. The surgery took even that from her. Coming here, this was supposed to be her safe place, and I treated it like an invasion. I stood up and walked to the closet. It was empty except for a few wire hangers. She'd taken everything. But on the top shelf, way in the back, I saw a small fuzzy shape. I reached up and pulled it down. It was my old teddy bear, Mr. Barrington. One of his eyes was missing, and his fur was matted from all the times I'd slept with him as a kid. She'd kept him, and she'd left him here. On purpose? Did she forget? Or did she think I wouldn't want it? I held that bear and felt like I was 6 years old again. I remembered being sick with a fever. She stayed up all night with me, reading stories and putting cool cloths on my forehead. Mr. Barrington was right there with us. She never complained. She never looked tired. She was just there, always. Now she was gone. Where? Her apartment was sublet. Did she go to a hotel? To a friend's? I didn't even know. I hadn't asked. I just stood there and watched her walk out into the night. The rain was coming down harder now. I could hear it drumming on the roof. I pictured her waiting at a bus stop, her small suitcase beside her, getting soaked. I thought about her hip. The doctor says she shouldn't be on her feet for too long. Was she in pain? Was she cold? I looked down at the drawings scattered on the bed. That lopsided house. The rocket ship. She'd saved every one. She had a big plastic tub in her apartment closet full of this stuff. My old report cards, my Little League trophies. Every time I visited, she'd sometimes pull something out. "Remember this?" she'd say, her voice so full of love. And I'd just nod, usually in a hurry to leave. I never really looked. I never really saw what it meant to her. This wasn't about folded shirts or rearranged kitchens. This was her language. It was how she said, "I love you. I'm proud of you. You are still my son." And I wasn't listening. I was too busy being a husband, a homeowner, an adult. I forgot I could still be her son. Emily came to the doorway. She was in her pajamas, her arms crossed. She didn't say anything for a minute. She just looked at me, at the bear in my hands, at the photos on the bed. "Ryan?" she said softly. I couldn't speak. I just shook my head. She came and sat next to me. She picked up the graduation photo. "She looks so happy here," Emily whispered. "I know," I finally said, my voice rough. I took that away from her. Emily was quiet. She put her hand on my back. "I was so angry about the boundaries," she said. "I felt like she was criticizing me, like I wasn't a good enough wife." "She wasn't criticizing you," I said, the realization hitting me like a physical weight. "She was trying to show you she could help. She was trying to be part of our team." We sat in silence for a while, listening to the storm outside. The wind howled a little. It sounded lonely. "What do we do now?" Emily asked. I looked at the envelope. "Ryan, only if you ever look for me." She left a trail. She left me a way to find her. But did I even deserve to? The guilt was a cold stone in my gut. I replayed the moment I yelled at her. The shock on her face. The way she just shut down. I'd never seen my mom look like that. Not even when Dad died. She had been strong then. This was different. This was a defeat I had caused. I keep thinking about that empty closet, the neat bed, the unplugged clock. She erased herself so completely from this room, but she left these pieces of my past behind. She left a part of herself here, with me, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to fix this. It's strange telling this to a screen. It feels like shouting into a void. But it also helps, a little, to get it out. I imagine people in other states, other cities, hearing this. Maybe you understand. Maybe you've messed up too. It's a big country. I can't be the only one sitting in a quiet house, full of regret. So tell me, where are you? Just type the name of your city. Let me know this story is traveling. Let me know I'm not completely alone in this. I walked out of the guest room, Mr. Barrington still clutched in my hand. The hallway seemed longer than before. Each step felt heavy, like I was walking through mud. Emily followed me quietly. She didn't ask about the bear. She didn't need to. We ended up in the kitchen, the same kitchen Mom had rearranged. I opened the cabinet where the coffee mugs used to be. Now it held mixing bowls. I stared at them for a full minute. She had organized them by size, with little felt pads between each one so they wouldn't scratch. She was always thinking about preserving things, protecting things. "I can't stop thinking about her out there," I said to Emily. My voice sounded hollow in the quiet kitchen. "I know," she said. She was leaning against the counter, her arms wrapped around herself. "I've been thinking too, about what I said, about boundaries." I turned to look at her. The overhead light made shadows under her eyes. She looked as tired as I felt. "When my mom visits," Emily continued, "she drives me crazy too. She comments on my hair, my clothes. But she lives across town. She goes home at the end of the day." She took a deep breath. "Your mom, she was living here. There was no escape for any of us." "But that's not her fault," I said. The words surprised me. I invited her here. I said yes when the doctor asked. I should have, I don't know, prepared better? Set clearer rules from the beginning? Emily nodded slowly. We both should have. Instead, we let it build. We let every little thing become a big thing. I looked down at Mr. Barrington. His one remaining eye seemed to stare up at me. I remembered the day I lost his other eye. I was 8. I'd been crying hysterically. Mom stayed up until 2 a.m. sewing a button on to replace it. But the button fell off a week later. She never got around to replacing it again. She said he had character that way. All those memories were flooding back now. Every small sacrifice she made. Every time she put me first. I need to find her, I said suddenly. The words felt both terrifying and right. How? Emily asked. Where would you even start? I thought about the note. Only if you ever look for me. She knew I might come after her. She left me that clue. But where would she go? Maybe she went to Aunt Karen's? Emily suggested. I shook my head. Karen lives in Florida. Mom wouldn't have enough money for a last-minute flight. The women's shelter? Or a hotel? I thought about my mom. Proud, private. She wouldn't go to a shelter. A hotel, maybe. But which one? Austin had hundreds. Then I remembered something. When Dad was alive, they had a favorite spot. A little bed and breakfast in the hill country. They'd go there for their anniversary every year. After Dad died, she kept going alone. She said it made her feel close to him. The Bluebonnet Inn, I said, in Fredericksburg. Do you really think she'd go there? Emily asked. It's an hour and a half away, I said, thinking out loud. But she loves that place, and she knows I know about it. The rain was still coming down hard outside. I could see it streaking the kitchen window. I thought about her making that drive in the dark, in the storm, with her bad hip. My stomach twisted. I have to go, I said. I have to try. Emily looked at the clock. It was almost midnight. Now, in this weather? If she's there, I can't leave her thinking we don't want her. I can't let her wake up tomorrow morning believing her son doesn't love her. Emily came over and took my hand. Then I'm coming with you. We didn't talk much as we got ready to leave. I put Mr. Barrington carefully on our bed. I gathered up the photos and the note from the guest room and put them in a Ziploc bag. I didn't know why. Maybe I thought I might need to show them to her, as proof of something. Proof that I finally understood. As we stepped out into the garage, the cold air hit me. I could hear the rain pounding on the roof. It sounded angry. I grabbed an extra jacket from the hook, for her, just in case. The roads were nearly empty. The windshield wipers worked hard, swishing back and forth. The rhythm was hypnotic. Emily sat in the passenger seat, her phone in her hand. I called the Bluebonnet Inn, she said after a few minutes. No answer. It's late though, they might not pick up. Or she might not be registered under her name, I said. She might not want to be found. We drove in silence for a while. The yellow lines on the highway disappeared under the car again and again. I kept seeing her face when I yelled. That flinch, like I'd physically hit her. I'd never raised my voice at my mom before. Not like that. Even as a teenager, I'd mostly just sulked. This was different. This was cruel. What are you going to say to her? Emily asked softly. If she's there. I shook my head. I don't know. I'm sorry doesn't seem big enough. It's like trying to put a Band-Aid on a hole in the dam. Language, Emily said automatically, then smiled weakly. Sorry, habit. No, you're right, I said. Mom would hate me talking like that. We both fell quiet again. I realized we were both thinking about her, worrying about her. Together, for the first time in weeks, we were on the same side about my mom. The city lights faded behind us, replaced by the dark shapes of hills and oak trees. The storm felt more intense out here, away from the streetlights. Every time lightning flashed, I could see the fields stretching out, soaked and dark. My hands were tight on the steering wheel. What if she wasn't there? What if she was somewhere cold and unfamiliar? What if she was scared? My mom never showed when she was scared. She always put on a brave face. For me. Always for me. The exit for Fredericksburg appeared, just 10 more miles. My heart started beating faster. This was it. Either I'd find her and have a chance to make things right, or I'd face an empty room and have to live with not knowing. I glanced at Emily. She gave me a small, nervous smile. "Whatever happens," she said, "we'll figure it out, together." I reached over and squeezed her hand. The car splashed through a deep puddle, sending water flying. The storm wasn't letting up, and I was driving right into the heart of it, chasing a ghost, hoping for a miracle. What if she slams the door in my face? What if she's done with me for good? The not knowing is its own kind of torture. Have you ever had to chase someone in the dark, not sure if they even want to be found? Just type your city. Let me know someone's out there listening while I drive through this storm. The rain was coming down in sheets now. The little "Welcome to Fredericksburg" sign was barely visible through the blur of the windshield wipers. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Every muscle in my body was tense. We turned onto Main Street. It was deserted. The antique shops and wine-tasting rooms were dark. The only light came from the old street lamps, their glow fuzzy in the wet air. I drove slowly, my eyes scanning the sidewalks. They were empty. Of course they were. It was past midnight in a storm. "The inn is just a few blocks up," I said, more to myself than to Emily. She just nodded, her face pale in the dashboard light. I remembered the first time my parents brought me here. I was maybe 10. I complained the whole time about being bored. Now I was desperately searching for a piece of that memory, for the woman who had patiently ignored my whining. I pulled the car into a small gravel lot beside a 2-story stone building. A wooden sign, shaped like a bluebonnet, swung violently in the wind. The Bluebonnet Inn. Only one light was on downstairs, a soft yellow glow from what I guessed was the office. I turned off the engine. The sudden silence was loud, filled only by the drumming of rain on the car roof. Emily and I just sat there for a moment, listening to it. This was it. "What's the plan?" Emily asked, her voice a whisper. "I guess I just knock," I said. It sounded stupid. Who knocks on a hotel door after midnight? I looked at the Ziploc bag on the console. The crayon drawings looked so childish, so fragile. Was this really my peace offering? Some old paper? I took a deep breath and opened the car door. The cold, wet air hit me like a slap. I hadn't even grabbed the extra jacket. I was already messing this up. I hurried across the gravel, the stones slick under my feet, and stepped under the small overhang of the inn's porch. I raised my hand to knock on the office door. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I felt like I might be sick. What was I even going to say? Before my knuckles could touch the wood, the door swung open. A woman in a fluffy pink robe stood there, her hair in curlers. She looked annoyed. "We're closed for check-in," she said, her voice sharp. "You can't just show up in the middle of the night." I'm so sorry," I stammered. I felt like a kid caught somewhere I shouldn't be. "I'm not here for a room. I'm looking for someone. My mother, Carol Coper. Is she here?" The woman's expression shifted. The annoyance faded, replaced by something else. Caution? Pity. She looked me up and down, taking in my soaked clothes and probably the desperate look on my face. "She said someone might come," the woman said, her voice quieter now. "She said if a man showed up asking for her, to tell him she's fine and that he should go home." The words were a physical blow. She'd anticipated me, and she'd sent me away. "Please," I said, and my voice broke. I sounded pathetic. "Please, I just need to see her for a minute. I just need to know she's okay." The woman sighed. She looked over my shoulder at Emily, who was still sitting in the car. "She's in room 7, around the back. The stairs go up to the balcony." She pointed a finger at me. "But if she doesn't want to talk to you, you leave, immediately.
I won't have you harassing my guests. I promise. Thank you. Thank you so much. I didn't wait. I turned and half ran, my shoes splashing through puddles around the side of the building. A set of wooden stairs led up to a long, covered balcony. The rain was so loud. I took the stairs 2 at a time. Room 7. The number was on a small, rustic plaque. The curtains were drawn. No light shone from underneath the door. I stood there, frozen. Rainwater dripped from my hair down my neck. I was shivering. This was it, the moment I'd driven through a storm for. I raised a trembling hand and knocked. The sound was too soft, swallowed by the rain. I knocked again, harder. For a long time, there was nothing, just the endless sound of the storm. My hope started to drain away. She wasn't going to answer. She was in there, and she was ignoring me. She was done. Then I heard a faint sound, the turn of a lock. The door opened just a crack. The security chain was still on. One of her eyes peered out through the narrow gap. I could only see a sliver of her face. She looked tired, so tired. Ryan? She said my name. Not as a question, just a statement. Her voice was flat, empty. Mom. The word came out as a choked sob. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I couldn't see her expression. The chain was in the way. I fumbled for the Ziploc bag in my pocket. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get it open. I found it, I said, my voice thick. I pulled out the crayon rocket ship. The paper was damp from the rain. I found the drawer. I found everything. I held it up to the crack in the door. The waxy paper was limp in my fingers. She was silent for so long I thought she might have walked away. I could hear my own ragged breathing. Then I heard a soft click. The security chain. The door opened slowly. She was standing there in her nightgown and a worn-out cardigan. Her suitcase was open on the bed behind her, clothes neatly folded inside. She looked small, fragile. She was holding a tissue, twisting it in her hands. Her eyes went from my face to the drawing in my hand. Then they filled with tears. I just wanted to help, she whispered. The sound was so small it was almost lost in the rain. I just didn't know how to be in your new life, Ryan. That broke me. I started to cry, right there on the balcony, in the middle of the night, soaked to the bone. I couldn't hold it back anymore. I know, I managed to say. I know that now. I was a terrible son. I was so worried about my house, my rules. I forgot you were my mom. I took a step forward. I was afraid to touch her, afraid she would pull away, but she didn't. She just stood there, crying quietly. I didn't mean it, I said, when I told you to go. I didn't mean any of it. I was stressed and I was stupid, and I took it all out on you. Please, please come home. She looked past me, out at the storm. It is your home, Ryan. You were right. No, I said, the word forceful. It's our home, yours too, whenever you want it to be. We want you there. Emily wants you there. We both do. I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Hope? It was so faint. Emily is here? She asked. I nodded, pointing weakly toward the parking lot. She's in the car. She was the one who thought to call the inn. She's worried about you too. My mom looked down at her hands, at the shredded tissue. I didn't take a coat, she said softly, almost to herself. I was so upset I just walked out. I got so cold waiting for the taxi. That detail, that small admission of vulnerability, shattered what was left of my heart. I brought you one, I said, even though I'd left it in the car. I brought a jacket for you. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry I let you walk out into the cold. I couldn't stand it anymore. I closed the distance between us and wrapped my arms around her. She felt so thin. She stiffened for a second, and I was sure I'd made a mistake. Then she melted. Her arms came up around my back, and she held on tightly. She buried her face in my wet shoulder, and I felt her whole body shake with silent sobs. We stood there like that for a long time, holding each other in the doorway, the rain pouring down around us.
It wasn't fixed. It wasn't magically okay. The hurt was still there, a real heavy thing between us. But the door was open. She was in my arms. And for the first time since I'd found that envelope, I felt like I could breathe. The storm was still raging, but inside, a different kind of storm was finally starting to calm. The hard part was over. Now came the real work, the talking, the listening, the rebuilding. But we were together, and that was the only place we could possibly start. If you've ever had to fight for a second chance with someone you love, you know how terrifying this drive was. You know this feeling in my chest, part hope, part pure fear. I'm sharing this with you because it helps to not feel alone in it. So tell me, where are you hearing this? Just type your city. Let me know someone out there gets it. I pushed the door open the rest of the way and stepped inside. The room smelled like her, that faint scent of lavender and the mint tea she always drinks. It was a small, simple room. The bed was neatly made, but her suitcase was open, her life half unpacked. It felt so temporary, so sad. I didn't let go of her. I was afraid if I did, she'd disappear again. I found Mr. Barrington, I whispered into her hair. Her whole body shuddered with another sob. You kept him? Of course I kept him, she said, her voice muffled against my shirt. He was your favorite. You took him everywhere. She finally pulled back, wiping her eyes with the ruined tissue. She looked at me, really looked at me. You're soaked through, Ryan. You'll catch your death. It was such a mom thing to say. After everything, her first instinct was to worry about me getting a cold. It made me want to cry all over again. I'm fine, I said, even though I was shivering. Are you okay? Are you warm enough? I looked around the room. The heater was humming, but it still felt drafty. I'm managing, she said. She walked over and sat on the edge of the bed, looking small and lost. I stayed standing, feeling too big for the room. The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. It wasn't the comfortable quiet we used to have. This was full of all the things we hadn't said. I messed up the kitchen, didn't I? She finally said, not looking at me. With the spices. Emily likes them alphabetical. I just put them where they made sense to me. It's not about the spices, Mom. I ran a hand through my wet hair. It was never about the spices or the laundry. It was me. I felt like you were taking over, and I got scared. This is my first house with my wife. I wanted to do it right. I wanted to be the man of the house. The words sounded so stupid and childish saying them out loud. She nodded slowly, still looking at her hands. I know. And I saw you trying, you and Emily building your life, and I was just there, in the way, a reminder of the old life. I didn't know my place anymore. She looked up, her eyes red-rimmed. After your father died, my place was with you. And then you didn't need me like that anymore. And I didn't know what to do with myself. Hearing her say that was like a punch to the gut. I had been so focused on my own new chapter, I never stopped to think that her whole book had changed. Dad was gone. I was grown. What was her story now? I always need you, I said, my voice rough. Just not to fold my socks. I need you to be my mom, to give me advice, even when I'm too stubborn to listen, to tell me stories about Dad, to be at our table for Thanksgiving. I walked over and sat next to her on the bed, the mattress dipped. I need you, Mom, just you. Not a live-in maid, not a manager, just you. A fresh tear traced a path down her cheek. I thought I was helping. I know you were. I reached out and took her hand. It felt fragile in mine. And I was an idiot. I treated you like a problem instead of my mother. I am so sorry for the way I spoke to you. I will never, ever raise my voice to you like that again. She squeezed my hand. It was a small pressure, but it felt like everything. You were always such a good boy, Ryan. It wasn't you.
It was me, I insisted. I did it, and I have to own that. But I want to be better. We can be better. All of us. I looked toward the door. Emily's waiting in the car. She's a wreck, too. She feels awful. Poor Emily, Mom said, a genuine concern in her voice. I never meant to cause trouble between you two. You didn't, I said. We caused it ourselves, by not talking, by letting things build up. I took a deep breath. Come home with us, please. Let's try again. Let's make new rules, together. She was quiet for a long time, just looking at our joined hands. I could hear the clock on the nightstand ticking. Each second felt like an hour. This was her decision. I couldn't force it. I had to wait. All right, she said softly. She looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw a little bit of the light back in her eyes. All right, Ryan, I'll come home. The relief was so powerful it made me dizzy. I leaned forward and hugged her again. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you. We packed her suitcase together. It didn't take long. She hadn't brought much. I zipped it closed and carried it for her. As we stepped out onto the balcony, the rain had finally started to ease up. It was more of a drizzle now, a quiet sigh after the storm. I led her down the stairs and around to the parking lot. Emily saw us coming and got out of the car. She stood there by the hood, looking hesitant, her arms wrapped around herself against the cold. When we got closer, my mom stopped a few feet away from her. Emily, she said. Carol, Emily replied. Her voice was tight with emotion. I am so sorry. My mom shook her head. No, we all are. Then she opened her arms. Emily didn't hesitate. She stepped forward and hugged my mom, really hugged her. I saw my mom's eyes close, and she patted Emily's back. We're going to do better, Emily said, pulling back, her own eyes shining with tears. I want you in our lives, I really do. I want that too, dear, my mom said. I think we just all got a little lost for a while. I put the suitcase in the trunk and opened the back passenger door for my mom. I'd left the extra jacket on the seat. Here, I said, handing it to her. I told you I brought one. She took it and put it on, pulling it tight around her. Thank you, honey. The drive back was different. The silence was softer now, lighter. My mom sat in the back, and I could see her in the rearview mirror, just looking out the window at the passing darkness. She wasn't a ghost anymore. She was right there. We got home as the sky was starting to lighten from black to deep blue. Dawn wasn't far off. We were all exhausted. I carried her suitcase back to the guest room. Everything was exactly as she'd left it. The drawer was still slightly open. She stood in the doorway, looking in. It feels strange to be back, she admitted. It's your room, I said, for as long as you want it. She gave me a small, tired smile. We'll see. She walked over to the nightstand and gently closed the drawer. It was a simple gesture, but it felt significant. She was putting things back in place. Emily made us all tea. We sat at the kitchen table, the three of us, wrapped in blankets. We didn't talk about the fight. We didn't make grand plans. We just sat there, sipping our tea, being together. The sun began to rise, casting a pale, hopeful light through the window. It wasn't a perfect, happy ending. It was a beginning. A messy, complicated, fragile beginning. We had a long way to go. We had to learn new ways to be a family. But we were all willing to try. And for now, in the quiet of the morning, that was enough. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever had to mend a bridge you burned, then you know the work is just starting. But you also know the hope that comes with that first hard step. If you're out there rooting for us, let me know. Just hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to follow what happens next. This isn't the end of our story. It's a new chapter. The next few weeks were quiet. Not the bad kind of quiet, not the kind that sits heavy in a room. It was a careful quiet, a respectful one. We were all learning the new shape of our home, the new sound of our family. Mom stayed in her room a lot at first. I'd hear her puttering around in there, but she'd only come out for meals. Emily and I didn't push. We just made sure she knew she was welcome. The first real change happened on a Tuesday.
I came home from work and the smell hit me the second I opened the door. Not just dinner, it was her meatloaf. The one with the brown sugar glaze on top, the way Dad always loved it. My throat got tight. I walked into the kitchen and there she was, standing at the stove, an old apron of mine tied around her waist. Emily was setting the table, smiling. "I hope you don't mind," Mom said, not quite looking at me. "I found the recipe in my old box." "Mind?" I said, my voice thick. "It smells like home." We ate at the table together. We actually talked, not about the weather, but about real things. Mom told a story about Dad trying to fix the sink and flooding the entire kitchen. We laughed until we cried. It was the first time his memory felt like a comfort in the house, not a ghost. After that, things started to thaw, slowly. Mom started arranging the living room pillows in the morning, but this time it didn't feel like she was taking over. It felt like she was caring for our home. She'd ask Emily, "Do you like them better on this side?" She started folding the laundry, but she'd leave it in neat stacks on our bed for us to put away. It was a partnership, not a takeover. One Saturday, I found her in the garage looking at my toolbox. "The hinge on that guest room window is squeaking," she said. "I thought maybe we could fix it." We spent the whole afternoon out there, me, my mom, and a can of WD-40. She held the flashlight while I worked. She told me about all the things she and Dad had fixed in their first house. I learned more about them in that one afternoon than I had in years. It wasn't about the window. It was about building something together. Emily and Mom started having their own thing too. They'd have coffee on the back porch in the mornings before work. I'd watch them from the kitchen window, their heads close together, talking. I never asked what they talked about. It was theirs. That was the point. The big test came a month later. Mom sat us down at the kitchen table. She looked nervous. "I've been looking at apartments," she said. My heart just dropped. I thought we'd failed. I thought she was leaving. But she saw my face and quickly held up a hand. "Not because I'm unhappy," she said. "I'm so happy here, with you both. But this is your home, your life together. And I need to find my own life again, too. A small place, nearby, just a few blocks away." She looked at Emily, then at me. "I want to be your mom who comes over for dinner, not your mom who lives in the guest room. I want you to miss me when I'm not here." I looked at Emily. She was smiling, a real, genuine smile. She reached over and took my mom's hand. "I think that's a wonderful idea, Carol." And she was right. It was. It wasn't a rejection. It was the next step. It was her finding her place in our world without living in our shadow. We helped her find a little one-bedroom cottage-style apartment a 10-minute walk away. It had a small garden out back she was already planning for. The day she moved her things out of our guest room was bittersweet. We packed her boxes together. The room looked so big and empty when we were done. But that night, we had dinner at her new place. She cooked in her own kitchen. We sat on her couch. It was her home, and we were her guests. It felt right. It felt balanced. Now she comes over every Sunday for dinner. Sometimes she calls me for advice on her router or to help hang a picture. I go over there, and it feels good. It feels like I'm her son again.
Helping his mom. And sometimes she still brings over a meatloaf for us, wrapped in foil. She lets herself into our house with the key we gave her, and she leaves it on the counter for us to find. I found one last thing months later when I was cleaning out the garage. Tucked in the back of a shelf was a small cardboard box I'd never seen before. I opened it. Inside were all my old school projects, my report cards, more of my childhood drawings. She must have brought it with her when she first moved in, a piece of my past she wanted to keep close. She never showed it to me. She just kept it, a quiet piece of her love she didn't need to prove to anyone. I didn't say anything to her about it. I just put the box back exactly where I found it. Some things don't need to be talked about. You just know. We found our way. It wasn't easy. It took a lot of apologies, a lot of quiet conversations, and a lot of forgiveness. For her, for Emily, and most of all, for myself. Our family looks different now. It's bigger, in a way. It's me and Emily, and it's my mom in her own home, woven back into the fabric of our lives in a way that makes sense for all of us. The hurt from that night, the image of her walking out into the rain, it's still there. I don't think it will ever fully go away. But now it's a reminder to listen better, to speak more kindly, and to never, ever take for granted the people who love you just because they're trying to find their place in your world. If you've been through something like this, you know the ending isn't perfect, but it's real, and real is so much better. If this story meant something to you, if it gave you a little hope for your own second chances, then do me a favor. Hit that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Our story's next chapter is just beginning, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. Thanks for listening. It helped more than you know.